Sylvia. How you doing? Let's go. Where are we going now?
Hello? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Before we begin tonight's town board meeting, I'd like to take a moment to recognize an incredible charitable organization that provides bedding, bath, and other essential household items to our less fortunate residents. Thankfully, this meeting is being held at night, or else the young men behind this organization would be in class at Garden City High School. Aiden and Ryan Padala founded Linen Lift in 2013 while still in middle school and elementary school. After volunteering to sort cans at the Mary Brennan Inn, that soup kitchen in Hempstead, they were informed of the needs of some of our local shelters, namely the needs for warm bedding and supplies for winter months. Instead of trying to skirt responsibilities like preteens sometimes do, these young men remarkably decided to enact change and start their own small linen drive. Within a week, the boys had collected hundreds of items. Recently, Aiden and Ryan completed their 6th annual Linen Lift Drive, delivering 3,330 bedding and bath items, 300 pounds of toiletries, and 30 bags of tablecloths to the Donald Axon Inn and Edna Morin Inn in Hempstead. Committing yourself to community service, especially when you're a student, is incredibly admirable and illustrates the type of people that make up our town. I'm grateful for the work that these two young men do. Their parents should be very proud, and I'm honored that we, the town board, can present you with this citation recognizing the hard work that you've done to help the less fortunate in Hempstead. Please stand.
She's aware as well. I'll change it. Okay.
He never has anything I give him. Debbie, where's his script? Where's his script? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Is it possible that you could
And there's only a couple of TOD letters because you signed all the rest already.
got it? Okay.
All right, are we ready to roll?
Everybody's on board?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the town board meeting. For those of you who have never attended a board meeting before, there are agendas available in the rear of the pavilion. If you'd like to be heard on any matter, please fill out a slip and hand it to one of our public safety officers and indicate what item you would like to be heard on. After the meeting is adjourned, the town board will remain in session and listen to comments from the public that wish to be heard on other matters. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Supervisor Gillen.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Councilman Ambrosino.
Here.
It's after this. You want your name where it was? Okay. Councilman Ambrosino.
Here.
Councilman Blakeman.
Here.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn. Here. Councilwoman King Sweeney. The very last one.
I don't switch because she's first. I'm not first. I'm not second.
Okay. Councilman Diaz-Pasito, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
With your hands over your heart and a loud, proud voice, I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Supervisor, if I may have a point of personal privilege for a moment, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby and I have a request. Tonight, Hofstra University right here in Hempstead is playing in the finals of the Colonial Athletic Tournament. If they win tonight, they will go to the NCAA tournament, which will not only bring a lot of money into Hofstra, but also a lot of additional notoriety. And although this is Senior Councilwoman Gooseby's district, my father was an alum, so we were joining together. We were wondering, is there any way we can get the game put on these two things during the meeting?
Well, listen, I am also an alum of Hofstra. Remember that.
Oh, you are too? Okay.
That's right.
So am I, and so is Diaz-Pasito.
So let's adjourn and watch the game.
I think we're better than what we have to do tonight.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the first public hearing?
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in or near Belrose Terrace, near Bethpage, Inwood, Levittown, and Roosevelt, near Westbury.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and that the local law be adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Madam Clerk, will you call our next public hearing, please?
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Woodmere.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and that the local law be adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding traffic regulations in the vicinity of schools in Levittown and Oceanside.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Make a motion that the hearing be closed and the local law be adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen. Aye. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding loading zones in or near Bethpage.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
A motion that the hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second?
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen,
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino,
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman, Councilman Diaz-Posito, Councilman Dunn, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Madam Clerk, please call our next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding school speed limits in Elmont.
Mimi Pierre Johnson?
Good evening.
Good evening. If you would just state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, my name is Mimi Pierre Johnson, and my address is, 70 Crystal Street in Elmont, New York. I first like to say thank you so much. Supervisor Gillen, you have moved on this so quickly since the horrific accident that happened on Halloween in Elmont. And I thank this body for taking this up so quickly. And I just want you to know that the vote that you take tonight, it's saving a life. It's telling Elmont that you care about our children. I think it was enough that one child died going to school, but we've had 3 that has passed away, either going to school or going home from school because our area is not safe. So I thank you so much for doing this. I would ask that you add 2 more streets to, Dutch Broadway so that it can be an even flow from the Dutch Broadway Elementary School to the high school. And for some of you that does not know Elmont, we have our children from elementary school to high school, junior high school, walking along Dutch Broadway. So there's 2 streets from the existing 20 miles an hour, which is on Keegan, to Crystal Street. It's 2 blocks, but it's 2 long blocks. And the sidewalk is not wide, so you have children coming from the high school and junior high school going back home. And on November 20th, that was the same day we did a walkthrough with the town and the county, so we can see what these children have to face. That afternoon, between Keegan and Diamond Street, there was actually a 4-car accident where one of the cars flipped over. And so that whole stretch of the road, this vote that you take tonight, it is so important that it will save lives. And really, I am really happy for once in all the years that I've been advocating for my community, this happens so fast. You're talking about signs, U-turn sign, crossing the street. All this happened from October 31st to November. You can see that there's a school zone there. There's children there. Because of the weather, we could not have the markings on the ground, and I know that's coming in the spring. But this was huge. I didn't expect it to be so fast. So I just wanted to say thank you, and if you can please add those additional streets so that it will connect from Dutch Broadway Elementary School all the way to Astor, which is what this resolution proposes.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you for coming in. Do we have someone from Highway here tonight?
Mr. Reed is probably the person for traffic. Mr. Reed.
Traffic, yeah.
So you can speak with Mr. Reed about the other streets that you want included.
Yes.
He did the walkthrough with us.
Yeah. Let's see if we can add those additional streets. You know, I grew up in Valley Stream, just about a half mile away from Dutch Broadway. And believe it or not, when I was a little kid, there were farms there. And now it's gotten very congested, so these signs are appropriate, and thank you for your advocacy.
I really appreciate it, and you're doing a great job.
Good evening, Supervisor, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, and Town Board members. Tom Reed, representing Traffic Control. We could look into the situation, but from my understanding and my experience being out in the field right now, the current school speed zone for the elementary school is within the guidelines of the state manual, which allows us to establish the school zone. I don't think it can be expanded any wider, but I can double check in the field to see if we can make some adjustments or not, but I believe it's at the maximum allowable by
Yeah,
law.
well, did they explain that to you? We're not allowed to extend school zones beyond the parameters of what's required by state law, so our hands might be tied, but see what you can do.
Right, I'll look into that for you, sir.
And we have your contact information, so we can follow up with you as well.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you again.
Tamar Paoli?
Hello.
Hi, Tamar.
Hi, so 70 Crystal Street, Elmont, New York. Just to confirm my address, I also would like to speak on Dutch Broadway as well. Those 3 blocks are actually very imperative because the elementary school goes to preschool to 6th grade and the high school goes from 7th grade to 12th grade. A lot of the children in elementary school has their older siblings picking them up, walking from Elmont Memorial to Dutch Broadway High School. So if we don't allow those 3 blocks, which it's very imperative, that we add those 3 blocks, because what happens is, I live off of Dutch Broadway, people speed for 3 blocks and then try to slow down, and that can cause an accident. So that whole thing from the elementary school to the high school should really be within the guidelines.
You know what, Mr. Reed, the current speed limit on Dutch Broadway is 30? And the school zone's 15 or 20?
It's 20, sir.
20? And the state law requires us to have at least 25?
Can't go any lower, the school speed limit can't go any lower than 10 miles below the regulatory speed limit.
Okay.
So it's 30.
No, but I'm saying, for the area that's not covered by state law, what's the lowest we could go with the speed limit, 25?
It's difficult to say because a lower speed limit may be more difficult to enforce, as everybody would be.
No, that's not the question I asked you. The question I asked you was, could we go to 25 if we decided?
We could look into.
For that small 3-block area, just the 3-block area?
You don't want to skip the law,
Go
do
any lower than the current speed right now, but we can look into finding out if it can go any lower, if it meets the state guidelines.
If you would look into that, and we have been speaking with Commissioner Ryder, with the NCPD about, increasing enforcement in this area to really be a deterrent for people from ignoring the speed limit.
So you'll get a memo back to us within a week telling us whether or not we can go to 25 on Dutch Broadway? For that 3-block area, if we're outside the school zone? Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Doe?
Good evening. My name is Joyce Stowe from 1978 Byron Avenue in the same area vicinity of the schools. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of Tudor Manor Civic and Parker Civic Association. While we appreciate the 20 miles per hour school speed limit, we are concerned if a comprehensive study was done to include the impact of other traffic in the area flowing in the same or the surrounding direction.
Mr. Reed, could you speak a little bit about the study that you did of this area?
Yes, the 2 roads in question, Dutch Broadway and Elmont Road, and that surrounding area are maintained by Nassau County, who I believe are currently doing extensive traffic surveys in the area to see what kind of improvements they can do for both roadways.
Thank you very much for
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
I do not have any other slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and that the local law be adopted.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen,
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye, and I think it's a wonderful thing we did here. I just have to clarify one issue. Legislator Salages has indicated that he requested a stop sign and it was denied by the town in this very area after the accident. That never occurred. No stop sign was ever denied. I applaud Supervisor Gillen and Councilman Blakeman for spearheading this effort, and we should do more efforts like this. And it was a tragedy that happened in Elma, but the stop sign was never denied by the town. On that note, I vote aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Madam Clerk, please call our next public hearing.
Proposed handicap parking on public streets in Elmont and Hewlett.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move the public hearing be closed, proposed local law adopted.
Second motion.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye. Madam Clerk, will you please call the next public hearing?
Proposed public parking field maps in Merrick.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move the hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye. Madam Clerk, will you please call the administrative calendar?
Madam Clerk, I have a point of personal privilege. I'd like to read a brief statement. I'd like to state for the record that I'm opposed to the council, to the board, and the Gillen lawsuit filing a notice of appeal. I firmly believe he's not permitted to file a notice of appeal unless specifically authorized by a town board vote. I was a vocal opponent of the MOA in December of 2017. I stand by all my public statements. I agree with my colleagues that Judge Marber overreached in her analysis, but I believe the proper way to address this judicial activism is to pass our pending ethics legislation. This will save precious taxpayer money and restore integrity to the town of Hempstead.
Supervisor, I'd like to be heard as well. First of all, I am not opposed to filing the notice of appeal, provided that the appeal not be perfected without further discussion from this board. I understand we're under a deadline to do it, so I'm not opposed to that. My feelings are that this should never have ended up in litigation. I oppose the MOA with Councilwoman King Sweeney originally. My thoughts haven't changed except to the extent that Councilwoman Erin King Sweeney brought up an issue about the judge's decision that may be problematic. In the meantime, I think what we should do is engage our union, the CSEA. We have a collective bargaining agreement. It's an ongoing procedure that we are always engaged in, and perhaps in dealing with our union and working through the collective bargaining agreement, we can come to an agreement that would obviate an appeal and that would be, if not 100% satisfactory to everybody, it would be something that we would all be in favor of. So that's my statement on it.
I can also say that I voted against it, but I am not in favor of maybe appealing, I don't know, because what happens in some of those statements in there, I'm not an attorney. You guys are attorneys and you fight back and forth of what you want. But I just happen to be a citizen. I am a member of, executive member of the Association of Towns of the State of New York, which is 933 towns. And to me, there is something in this statement that could cause a problem for every town in this country, and certainly for the state of New York, which is the largest town in the United States of America. There are other towns that are also involved with this. We have a national organization which we are part of, and it could cause a big problem for us, meaning that anyone can come in. We lose our powers, and they can come in and tell us what they want and what they don't want. So we have one vote each, and that's how it should be used. So I would rather make sure that it's not going to cause any problem for any town, certainly within this state and others as well. So that is my statement on it.
Well, I'll just comment by saying I think justice was delivered last week, and we are closing a shameful chapter in this town's history, and I'm glad with the decision that the judge made, and I think justice was delivered, and I certainly hope we won't be wasting any more taxpayer resources on this litigation. Madam Clerk, will you please call the administrative calendar?
Yes, Supervisor. On the administrative calendar, there are items 8 through 38 on the calendar, and I also have an item of an urgent or emergency nature. The first item is bond resolution of the Town of Hempstead, New York, adopted 2019, authorizing the financing of its highway road improvement projects within the town, stating the maximum cost thereof is $30 million, or appropriating said amount, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of a $30 million serial bonds of said town to finance said appropriation. This will be item number 39 on the administrative calendar.
Would any of the council members like to sever any of the items on the administrative calendar?
Item number 19 and 21.
We're just removing them.
To be removed. You asked for 7. I'm just severing those now. I'm doing it now before we vote. I want to take them off the table. I want to remove 19.
Isn't that after we move the calendar?
No.
To move the calendar?
No, I'm moving them off the calendar for now. I'm removing them, 21 and 19.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the removal of items 19 and 21?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Posito?
19.
Councilman Dunn? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney?
So now may I have a motion on the administrative calendar?
Are we going to let them speak first? Don't we let them speak first? Okay. I move the calendar in its entirety except for 19 and 21.
Second.
Including 39.
Felix Procacci?
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street, Franklin Square, New York. On item number 26, was this put out to bid? Stop the clock, please.
Mr. Rotkamp?
We didn't have, this is something that's been on and we've taken care of before. This does not, this is your,
We're purchasing code, we're updating our code as we're required, isn't that right?
this is totally legal.
Mr. Rob,
From time to time, the board passes new public laws and new ordinances. This allows us to place those new laws and codes in the town code, so they can be published.
so Mr. Procacci's question, was this put out to bid? Is this a sole source provider?
Sole source provider, yes, sorry.
Did the compliance officer review the contract?
Excuse me?
Did the compliance officer review the contract? If I repeat it, please don't use my time again, because they do that on purpose.
Does general code,
General code publishers are sole source.
they're sole source, they're the ones that do it for the state, correct?
Correct,
Okay. So this is on a state contract, isn't it?
correct.
Yeah, this is on a state contract. To my knowledge, this is on a state contract. I think they're the only ones that do it. Is there, Is there any other group that does this?
No, no.
Okay. On item number 31, once again, my FOIL request, they're going to be processing it, that talks about leave of absences. They didn't give me a reason to reject it. So currently, the way this resolution is written, you're not listing the people who are actually taking leaves of absences, so you're in violation of the law, because you're not denying my FOIL request. You say you're going to process it. That's what I got back this week. So now, why are you continuing to violate the law? And then also going on to the other resolution, other items in that category is we're hiring another deputy town attorney. My suggestion is we have plenty of deputy town attorneys that sit here through meeting after meeting and do nothing. Why can't we better use their time and have them work on it instead of hiring another person?
We are actually short attorneys in the town attorney's office. Isn't that right, Mr. Ra? We had a number of attorneys who have left even just recently. And Mr. Ra, I believe this attorney, Mr. Ra,
That's
this attorney was someone who's working part-time and is now stepping up to full-time. Is that correct?
on tonight's calendar, Supervisor. Thank you. That's correct, and we're looking. It's being worked on. Your FOIL is being worked on.
Yeah, I understand. Why?
In addition to that, I'll note that we are looking for additional town attorneys, and we posted a job listing
Well, you could use the
on the
ones-
website.
You could use the ones over here that are sitting here that just sit through meeting after meeting and don't say anything, and have them go upstairs and do some legal work. That's my suggestion, is because we have several town attorneys that sit here through meetings and do nothing. So I'm just saying, if we're short attorneys, you could give them some work to do and, go upstairs and do work
My
instead of
strong
sitting through a
suggestion to
meeting.
you is to not to be disrespectful to these people who work hard every day.
I'm just saying that we have people here who just sit at a meeting and are not doing
They
any
sit
legal
here and are
work.
responsive to the residents.
They're not doing any legal work.
Mr. Pataki, that's not up to
Anyway,
you to decide.
also,
I want to echo.
my time is running out. We're appointing John Ciotti.
Your time's not being charged. I want to echo what was said by Councilwoman King Sweeney and Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. These attorneys are here at our request to answer questions from the public. So if there is an issue, that they're here, and that we can get answers for people in the public, including you, and you know it because they've answered questions many times for you. So I don't think that's very unfair, Felix.
I think
And
that's a
in
little.
addition, Mr. Procacci, we have commissioners here because we call them down and they can answer questions for residents. That's why staff is here for town board meetings.
Understood. Anyway, we're appointing John Ciotti as a community research assistant in general services. Is he related to the former legislator, John Ciotti?
Felix, getting back to last week, one of the things that we included in the budget, and this is covered under the budget, is that we were going to establish a department, which we had many years ago when I first here was as a council member, a department that was going to deal with the substance abuse and alcohol abuse problems that we have, especially among our young people, and suicide prevention as well. And this is something that we've all collectively worked on. And quite frankly, I'm the one who's taken the lead because this has been passionate. I've served on a board of a nonprofit alcohol and substance abuse program in the town of Hempstead for almost 25 years. I know many people that have been devastated by suicide. There was just recently a 16-year-old boy, I think maybe 18-year-old boy, excuse me, in Rockville Center who threw himself in front of a train. We have an opioid crisis, and I recommended both Barry Wolanski and John Ciotti. John Ciotti is very qualified. He is months away from getting his doctorate in this area. He's very highly qualified in all issues concerning substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and suicide prevention, and he'll be a great addition to the new team that we've put together here on the town board to start helping people find answers to issues that they have in their families with substance and alcohol abuse. And now, with the state on the precipice, and I hope I'm wrong, of legalizing marijuana, There's going to be marijuana all over the place, in our parks, in our schools, and we better be prepared for it. I haven't given up the fight against legalizing marijuana because I think it's going to devastate our state, but we have to be ready for it as well. So I am the one who put forth both names. I take responsibility for it, and I'm actually proud of it because I think they're two outstanding individuals.
And
My question was he related to John Ciotti, the ex-legislator?
He was related, he is related to John Ciotti, who I had the privilege and pleasure of serving with on the legislature, a fine family. They come from North Valley Stream, and they're in my district, and I'm very proud that John, God rest his soul, has a son that has decided to go into service to save lives.
All right. And since you're speaking, just a minute, sir. You're speaking on that, Councilman, I have two people here who came here tonight, and I think this is a very appropriate time for them to come up. And he's from Cathedral in Rockville Center. His name is Reverend Seath, Pastor Seath. If it's okay, Supervisor Seth? Okay, I'm sorry, Seth, would it be okay if he comes up now? I would like for him to come up, and it's the same as this. So you want answers, we're giving you answers.
I didn't ask any of those questions. I didn't even ask any of them.
Well, we're giving you some.
I asked some very simple questions, and
Yes, it has to do with what he's doing.
You wanted to know about this hire.
So we're letting you,
one question.
well, then.
And that's it, and it's turning into.
Felix, meet Father Seth. You could use God's blessings.
Okay?
Good evening, Father Seth. Are we speaking about the administrative calendar, or is this more for public comment?
I asked him to do this because it is pertaining to it. He's with the marijuana and the legalization of it, exactly what we're doing for the person that we just hired, we're going to hire to handle this problem for us.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very appropriate.
If you don't mind.
So he can explain that to Felix, and we don't have to worry about Felix worrying about this anymore.
I wasn't worried about it.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby is very worried about you, Felix, so sit back and listen to Father Seth.
3 times at the last
Well,
meeting.
you only have 54 minutes, so let us do this.
54 seconds.
Oh, 54 seconds. Oh, my goodness. Well, you want to finish your 54 seconds, and then he can do what he has to do.
Would be nice, I guess.
54 seconds. Can you hold on for 1 second?
Wait right there, Reverend.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Felix.
The answer to your question was yes.
That was it, and then I want to know if the jobs were posted in the newspapers, that you're giving everybody a fair shot at getting these jobs, which has always been the case. And
This job was not posted.
yeah, I think that's unfair. This is what we
He
talk
has all
about.
the qualifications of the person that we
Oh my
need.
God, I can finish talking, and you could talk forever afterwards. You
I
know.
can talk because you talk a lot, and I listen to you all the
I only
time.
have 3 minutes.
So now you can talk to me.
We need to post jobs because we need to give everyone a fair shot at getting jobs.
I agree.
And also to list this job as a community research assistant where it doesn't go into any detail is also disingenuous too. And now, I didn't know what they were hired for. I'm just asking very fundamental questions to the process of the way this is going. And I wish I wouldn't get interrupted constantly when I speak. I ask very simple questions, and I give very simple suggestions,
Time is gone.
yeah, after you interrupt me, when I have to repeat myself 3 times, that uses up my time.
Mr.
Anyway,
Okay.
I'll talk later on
Now he's going to talk.
Thank you,
You'll understand why we're doing this.
early, right?
Oh, I'm going to leave when I get ready. You don't tell me when to leave.
Reverend, would you please,
Father, we could all use a little religion right now.
That's right, a little prayer, especially for some people. I pray all the time. I'm praying for you now.
Thank you very much. My name is Seth Awodoku from St. Agnes Cathedral in Rockville Center, and I represent the clergy on the Rockville Center Coalition for Youth. And I'm speaking for all the church and the coalition in the area. We are concerned about the youth, the welfare of the youth. Most of us in the clergy, we end up cleaning the end result of drug use and drug abuse. And the end result is beyond remedy. And I believe we are all aware of this. We are called when it's gone bad. I was telling parishioners how on several occasions I have buried people that I thought were too young to die in their early 20s. Beautiful lives destroyed forever that cannot be replaced. So when the issue of legalizing recreational marijuana came up, it became a concern for many, including the clergy. And I'm here to speak to you, council members and town board, and every concerned citizen, that we have to think about this very well and talk to lawmakers, both in the state, in our counties and in the state, that it may open the gateways, not for good, but for the worst we can expect. Marijuana is a gateway drug. There are people who deny this, but it is true. And if it is free and open and people can use it, our youth will be destroyed before they grow up to the age where they will be useful to their homes, the counties, the state, and the nation. So we need to think very well about this. Once they start using marijuana, they will need more drugs. And once a child or a young person is hooked to one drug, they want more. And there's no limit to where they can go. We can't stop it by then. Is it for monetary reasons or for what reasons we are considering to legalize it? But there is one thing we cannot change. Once a life is destroyed, we can't bring it back. And this is more precious and more worthy than any amount of money the county or the state can rake in. So we want to bring this across. We, the clergy, the churches, the coalition, and all are saying no, please, no. We need to all get on board and be passionate about this and consider the lives, the productive lives that will be destroyed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Seth. I am a member of St. Agnes Parish. I thank you for all the good work that you do for our youth council and for our parish. Thank you, Father.
And
Thank
to
you,
that,
Father.
Father, I say amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I do not have any other slips on the administrative calendar. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard on the administrative calendar? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on items 8 through 39 with the two things that were excluded?
Supervisor Gillen?
I vote aye, except for on the personnel calendar, which is number 31. I vote no to John Ciotti. As I stated very clearly when I voted no for Mr. Wilansky, this position should have been posted and applicants should have been interviewed. Additionally, the position in the budget is in the budget as a deputy director, not a community research assistant. Why are we not hiring to fill this position that was actually created in the budget? I reviewed Mr. Ciotti? Yes? His resume, and he seems to be very qualified as a mental health counselor. We just hired another mental health counselor as a director. The Department of Veterans Affairs and Public Health was created to further enhance how we deliver services to, among others, our veterans, or at least that's what I thought. Instead of hiring somebody with a background in assisting veterans, we are hiring a second mental health counselor, and now between both management jobs, there is not one veteran. I cannot support this, and I vote no. I also vote no on Paul Grilly. The Parks Department was budgeted for 14 park crew chiefs, and currently there are 14 who are currently working, to my knowledge. I understand there was a retirement in the Parks Department, but according to what was budgeted, those vacancies cannot be filled. Otherwise, we will once again go over budget on payroll due to the fantasy of less savings. I vote no. I also vote no on Miguel Serrano. Currently, traffic control is at its budgeted staffing level for this position, and no justification was given to my office as to why this move is necessary, so I vote no. Finally, on item 30, this contract did not go out to bid. The RFP rules call for everything over $10,000 to go out to bid. This is a $36,000 contract that did not go out to bid, so I vote no on that.
Would you
Councilman Ambrosino?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye on everybody, including young John Ciotti, when mental health means taking care of the men and women that come home with traumatic brain injuries, with post-traumatic stress disorder, which affects 90% of the men and women that serve in our country in a war zone, being rocketed and mortared each and every day. Their lives are on the line. They come home to their families that they're not the same person that left. They need the help of somebody like John Ciotti. And remember that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. We need their help. It doesn't have to be a veterans counselor. Somebody's got to be there that knows what they're going through and talk to them and help them. And I vote aye on it, on the whole batch.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
vote aye?
Councilwoman King Sweeney?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Councilwoman King Sweeney?
Okay, that concludes the formal portion of our meeting. We will now move on to public comment. The senior councilwoman is requesting Arlene Walker.
That's it. We had him already.
My name is Arlene Walker. I'm a 25-year resident of West Hempstead. I want to thank you for your moratorium for legalizing recreational marijuana. However, I'm asking every and each one of you to start communication with our governor, our state legislature, because if we don't get this right, this thing about marijuana, legal marijuana, is going to start in our schools. And once you start in our schools, these are our future citizens. And if they constantly smoking, drinking, they want something else higher. I've been there, and I've done that. I spoke to Councilman Diaz-Bazito and Senior Councilwoman Gooseby this afternoon. He knows what goes on in the neighborhood pertaining to drugs. And if we don't open our eyes and find that this recreational marijuana is a no-go, because you're talking about our children, elementary school, junior high school, they get that stuff in their system, then they want more. They want heroin, they want opiums, they want everything that'll make that high even more. So I'm asking everyone in this room to write to Governor Cuomo and put a stop to this. This don't make any sense. Okay, medical marijuana, yes, but recreational marijuana, no. We shouldn't even be talking about this, okay? Those who don't smoke or don't take drugs, you are violating our liberal rights, our civil rights. Now, in the old days, when you violate somebody's civil rights, you go to jail. Now, I have neighbors who smoke marijuana, and if this law being passed, I can't sit out on my porch. I can't have birthday party for my grandchildren. And I'm sure everyone around here thinks the same. So I'm asking you again, please say no, please. And this thing about social injustice, that's a joke. It's really a joke. Because once you give a young man a ticket for openly smoking marijuana, he throw it away and put it in the garbage. Second ticket, he throw it away and put it in the garbage. Now he has to go in front of the judge. He don't go in front of the judge, okay? Now he has a warrant for his arrest, okay? But once he get that warrant, he's gonna spend 1 to 2 years in jail.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Thank you for your comments.
Ask everyone to vote no.
Thank
If I could, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just real quick, I just want to thank you for your service. I understand you served in the United States Army,
Yes,
overseas.
yes,
God bless you. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Ma'am, I also want to thank you for your service and for your comments, and I certainly will be following up and urging the governor to put the brakes on this, but I would also encourage you and others to reach out to our state senators who have mostly been completely silent on this issue and many other issues. They're the ones we really can hold accountable. Thanks.
I can assure my colleagues and I will make the movement to have this done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Emma Marin?
Hello. Before I get to the main topic that I wanted to talk about, I just wanted
If you would just state your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Emma Marin. I live at 57 East Melrose Street in Valley Stream. Before I get to my main topic, I actually just wanted to comment on that. Medical marijuana saved my life personally. I suffer from Tourette syndrome. I actually lobbied for the Compassionate Care Act to get medical marijuana passed because I was on very strong antipsychotics for my disorder, and that helped me wean off that. But
Yeah, let me just comment on that. I am a strong supporter of medical marijuana under a doctor's supervision. This is different. This is recreational marijuana. It's like any other drug. It needs to be regulated, and I think for people like you, medical marijuana can be a lifesaver. It can be a game changer, and I know people that it's really helped under a doctor's supervision, not recreationally.
Understood. Now, to what I wanted to bring up, Mr. Blakeman, you said recently in an interview with the Herald that you were concerned about young people being interested in living on Long Island and not moving out into the cities and making this more of a young, somewhere where young people would like to live. Overwhelmingly, millennials in my generation are very concerned about climate change. And there are certain steps that we need to, I believe we need to make in legislation in order to combat that. One thing I wanted to bring up was that Suffolk County had recently implemented a fee on single-use plastic bags. This can be really a monumental change into people's awareness of how we consume harmful things that impact our environment, especially being on an island where a lot of what we discard as trash is ending up in the ocean. It was shown that, excuse me, get to my notes. Yes, the EPA recently found out of the 4.4 million tons of discarded synthetic plastics, only 5.7 was actually being recovered and recycled. So even though you are putting things in the recycling bin, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is getting processed in the way that it should. So implementing these fees make people stop and think, do I really need to pay 5 cents for something that on average people use for 12 minutes? And just a single reusable bag can replace 500 plus single-use plastic bags in a year. And just think about what kind of impact 500 bags being taken out of the environment can make. It's something small, but I do believe that it can have a lasting impact, especially if we all come together and decide that this is an issue that we want to combat for the future generations, because it's happening fast. And it's happening now.
Thank you, Ms. Marin. And I don't know if you've ever seen the woman, she goes around to street fairs to advocate for the kind of legislation. She wears all the bags that one person consumes. When you see that, that is the most powerful image of the consumption of plastic bags. I mean, she's out to here with plastic bags. I believe, I think legislator Muley is putting forward a similar legislation according to what you've proposed in the county. I'm not sure what the status of that is, but we'll look into it and then we'll we'll see what happens in the county, and we could always maybe discuss amongst the board here about taking some action here if nothing happens at the county level.
Let me just mention that I'm glad you brought the subject up. First of all, the idea of the transportation-oriented communities is that it would get people out of cars, use mass transportation, and as part of this rezone that we are contemplating, all of the construction would have to be done with various guidelines that they would have to follow to, make sure that the water is being recharged, that there are other items that are being used, non-toxic items, things that are more compatible with the environment. So that is in the regulation. We're mindful of it. And I was involved in the largest building on Long Island that was LEED certified, the first LEED certified building. So a lot of those issues are very important. By the way, I'm told that I may have gone to school with your mother.
Yes, Bonnie Boydston, I believe you guys.
Tell Bonnie I said hi.
I will.
Thanks very much.
I personally work at the Malvern Pastry Shop right now. I don't know if you're
The best. My father used to go there all the time.
And just coming from personal experience, again, with the plastic bag issue, people want a bag for their bag. People don't realize how much we don't need to overpackage things. People will have a bag with their donut in it and want a plastic bag for their donut that they use, take to the car, take out, eat, and then throw away. So it's something that we can put the brakes on. It's something very doable. This has only been really a recent issue, and it's become so large. And I'll.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Barnes Street, Franklin Square, New York. I just want to, because of the time issue all the time, at the last meeting, Dorothy Gooseby violated not only my rights by telling me I wasn't allowed to speak on a particular public hearing, but also violated the rights of someone else, trying to get them to stop speaking. Fortunately, for the first time ever, Joe Ra overruled her, but I wish that would stop. It's very disrespectful, and it's illegal. As far as the litigation is concerned, we engaged in the last few years, we engaged in 2 lawsuits that were totally frivolous in the sense that we had no legal basis, the Woodmere Club and the moratorium and the free air law. We wasted probably, I would say, close to $400,000 on that, and there was no legal basis for it. And, that's a real problem. I contacted the compliance officer today. I had some issues. Eventually, no one knew where he was. Eventually, they transferred me to the town attorney's office. They insisted they wouldn't transfer me to his extension unless I gave my name, and I asked, why would that matter? But that doesn't really set a good precedent. Does the guy have any staff? I don't have to talk to that guy. I wanted to see if you have an application, how you go about the process. Because in the legislation, it does allow the public to, make, inquiries. Also, the ethics law, I mentioned probably about 5-6 weeks ago, I mentioned it was incomplete. It was put up incorrectly. We just got rid of the income cap part, but they deleted the entire paragraph. I brought this up, I think, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago. Joe Ross said he was going to get it fixed. I checked it before I came here today. It's still not fixed. The entire paragraph is gone. It was only supposed to be the income cap that was supposed to be eliminated, not the rest of the items in that. I went back to the original resolution when the income cap was removed, and that's all we discussed at that hearing. We didn't discuss taking out everything else. Once again, I'd love to be able to make a ethics inquiry. The Franklin Square Bulletin is owned by a town employee. From the resolutions that get passed here, it seems we do business with the Franklin Square Bulletin. The Franklin Square Bulletin, as I brought up, numerous articles are biased. They're one-sided, and aside from that, they would even go into Valley Stream just to give the Esposito a photo op, which, we're Franklin Square, we're not Valley Stream. I'm sure there's a Valley Stream newspaper, so there's a lot of, problem when Clavin announced his his candidacy. They, full page, they didn't, usually every newspaper I know, I get a few seconds, she got a few seconds.
Thank you.
Most would always talk to the opposition. A good reporter would always talk to the other party.
Thank you, Mr.
It was just
Procacci.
totally one-sided. How come you don't say that to anyone else except me? The other lady went 15, 20 seconds over, and they didn't get interrupted every 3 seconds. Just let me finish the sentence, please.
Thank you, Mr. Procacci, and we'll look into that issue you just raised. Reverend Seth, do you want to speak again, or? Okay. Liz Boylan?
Good evening. Thank you again. I want to thank you again for the moratorium. Since you last passed that, the coalition, we've been to Washington and we've been to Albany, and we've also looked at the most current changes in the bill, so I have some questions. The moratorium covers sales, and I believe it only covers the unincorporated areas of the town. Is that correct? So like the villages would not be?
The villages, can pass their own legislation.
So that being said, there were things in the bill, and I was just wondering, I don't know how many people have read this, but we dissected, and there were some things that I don't know if the moratorium will cover this, and some of it is quite egregious. One of the things that I find particularly egregious is that it basically says that, did you know that this bill prohibits the police from cooperating with any federal agency in enforcing the Federal Controlled Substances Act? To me, that smacks of obstruction of justice. I'm not an attorney, but that's what it sounds like to me. And how does this protect the general safety and welfare of the public, which is what our state legislators are supposed to do? Number two, how does this executive budget strips away employers' rights? It basically says that unless an employer establishes that the lawful use of cannabis has impaired the employee's ability to perform, they are prohibited from taking any adverse employment action. So a school bus driver could smoke a few joints, get in a bus, drive the kids to school, and unless that bus careens off the road, you can't dismiss him and you can't take any action. We met some doctors up in Albany. They were there opposing legislation. The head of anesthesiology, Mount Sinai, he said, oh, so I can have an anesthesiologist smoke a few joints, come to work, and he's going to be giving anesthesia to my patients, and I can't do anything unless I recognize that he's under the influence. It also says, the Office of Cannabis Management, under the exclusive jurisdiction of this director, okay, can overrule a municipality. It says there's regulation everywhere, except they allow special use permits, which essentially negates the regulations. Number one, wherever there's cannabis, you can't sell alcohol. Wherever there's alcohol, you can't have cannabis. However, you can get a caterer's permit. That caterer's permit will allow you to have cannabis at a ballroom, a hotel, special event. Trucking, okay, you're supposed to have special trucks, whatever. It gives a special permit for that. You don't have to be licensed. Same thing with warehouses. So it really is more than just sales. I feel it's jeopardizing our civil rights, our liberties. There are no protections in it. So I ask you, if you can get to our senators, yourself, the governor, this is wrong. It is violating and dangerous to the welfare and safety of the public. And let me say one thing about public service. I'm a big fan of Mayor Koch, and he once said that when you serve the public with integrity and honesty, there is no profession that's more noble than public service. And it's a tough job, so I do thank you, and I thank your attorneys for sitting here and listening as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boylan. I've just seen an announcement that the county executive announced that she intends to ask the county to opt out of the legalization of marijuana. I don't know all the details. I just saw the headline, but maybe this will not even be a big issue for us.
As you can see, it's more than just sales. So we have to really be.
Yeah, and can I just say something with respect to that? And I applaud the county executive for doing that, but I'm afraid that we'll be under a false impression that now that it's legal because we're opting out, that marijuana is not going to flow freely. In my district, which borders the city of New York, if they don't opt out, marijuana will be all over my district. It will wreak havoc. And I think what we need to do is we need to firmly go up to Albany and tell our state legislators that we don't want this. That's what we need to do.
Well, I would welcome come to Rockville Center and tell Senator Kaminsky, he's already said he's voting yes. He's the dean of the senator, as of this afternoon. It was on Facebook that he was pushing for it. But yes, I agree. And again, sales are one thing, but there's a whole host of issues. But it's okay to make it uncomfortable and difficult. So opting out is a first step. It's better than doing nothing.
Thank you. Valerie Lamp?
Valerie Lamp Baldwin. Mr. Ra, oh good, he's here. Mr. Ra, I was wondering if you could tell me whether or not there is an open investigation regarding the complaint issued by Bonnie Redafshire against the supervisor because of the memo that was issued to her silencing her First Amendment rights.
I can't comment on pending investigation.
So it is pending? That's all I want to know.
I can't comment on investigation.
Well, I know for the record that Bonnie Redafshire did file an official complaint with the town, so I'm hoping there is an open investigation on this, especially since her employer is a law firm who does contracted business with the township. The RFP for the behavior consultant, is that coming out anytime soon?
I do not know the status of that.
Okay. Okay, just going down the list. Can anyone speak to us with regards to why the cattery, the entire cattery at the shelter was closed?
Mr. Lacariba? Marino, you're here?
Good evening.
Supervisor, members of the board, senior councilwoman. Yes, it was closed down. There was some sort of medical issue with a few of the cats that it's being cleaned. It's being cleaned, disinfected, and sanitized.
A medical issue such as a contagious disease or something?
That I'm not aware of.
I'm being told that it was ringworm, which is actually caused because of lack of sanitary protocols. But was it ringworm?
I believe it was ringworm. I'm not 100% positive, but again, this wasn't born in the shelter. These were cats that had it, that came in, is my understanding.
Is there any protocol? This was my issue with the FELV light positive cat that I found on my street. The shelter didn't want to take her, and then they told me she was FELV positive when in fact she wasn't. So what I'm concerned with is there any protocols so that when a cat or an animal is tested and shown to have a contagious disease, to not bring them into the general population area to spread such disease?
One would think, but again, I'm not quite sure how it spread, and again, how many cats had it coming in.
All right, I appreciate your time and your answers, unlike Mr. Lacariba, who told me he doesn't feel obligated to answer me at all. Thank you very much. Last but not least, I wanted to
Thank you, Dr. Mastroino.
I wanted to thank Mr. Ra, your office, because the investigation that was launched onto the original resume submitted by the current trainer at the shelter, everything that was put forth by a legal professional stating that 4 out of 5 of her credentials listed on her resume were false, was in fact validated by your investigatory team, and an additional fabrication that was found out that was happening after she was hired was also substantiated. So I wanted to thank you very much for that. And, I wanted to say this. CAPA, is anyone on the board looking to put that bill forward? I understand Mr. Regina has submitted it to the board likes it. Where are we with that at all? The CAPA bill? Is that Rich? Okay.
We have a finished draft and it's under consideration.
Hi, Rich. So it's under consideration with the board? Okay.
Thank you for your comments. Ruth Ann McCormick?
Let's go board.
Good evening, council members, and thank you for the moratorium. Thank you for the good news from Nassau County. We were up in Albany this past Wednesday. We delivered these to every office, every assembly office, every Senate office. As you can see, it mimics a Marlboro cigarette box, and on it, it has all the facts about what marijuana will do to our state. I'm urging all of you to call the senators and say to them that they must vote no against this legislation. Senator Kaminsky came out today and is putting it back in the budget when it was taken out. So we really need everyone to speak out. This isn't about commercialization. It's all about money. It's billions and billions of dollars. $1 billion plus from Big Tobacco, and now Big Pharma is also getting in on it. And you know what happened when Big Pharma got in on Oxy. Legal weed is not social justice. Decriminalize, don't legalize. This will lower your IQ by 8 points, which our youth are already smoking marijuana at an alarmingly high rate, that we don't need more youth getting hooked on marijuana, and they do get hooked on it. Our youth in high school that are using marijuana, they become dependent on it, and they can't function without it. That's why they're getting caught in school with it. I counsel kids that are able to get off of it with some really strong counseling and some life skills to help them cope with it, and they are like different kids once they stop using it. It takes about 3 to 4 months, but they are like different kids. And I hear from their moms how happy they are that they have their kid back. On Thursday at the Freeport Library, we've partnered with the NAACP and community members of mostly every minority community in the town of Hempstead. We have a medical professional speaking about what this will do, the marijuana industry will do to their neighborhoods. So we expect a huge turnout. Please spread the word. And also another important issue with the coalition, we just lost our office in Rockville Center. It was a federally matched donation, which we need to match funds for funds. It was at Confide Counseling, and for some reason they've decided that we no longer can have our office there. So I'm just like asking anyone in the area, we can be in Oceanside, Baldwin, if anyone has any office that we can use, it would be great. And it's a great office to have where you are, because we are such a strong voice in the community, and we really help everyone, including other communities that aren't part of Rockville Center. And I don't know why they wouldn't want us there, but that's what they've decided to do. And they are OASIS funded, and I think it might have something to do with the OASIS funding that's coming from the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth Ann, for the good work that you do as a Village of Rockville Center resident. I know the work that you do on behalf of our children, and I really do appreciate it. And if we can be helpful in any way, finding you a place to relocate, we would be happy to do that.
We have until the end of April.
A quick question. They say that the science is that cigarettes cause cancer and marijuana does not, but isn't it true? And I've heard scientists say that it is a cause of COPD.
Yes.
And emphysema.
Yes.
So,
and that alone, those conditions can lead to cancer,
So-
lung cancer, and so you really can't say it doesn't contribute to cancer.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just to revisit, you said that Senator Kaminsky today announced that he was putting it back in the budget. What about our other assembly members and senators who represent the town of Hempstead? Do you know who's been on record as supporting it?
Well, we haven't got anyone on record saying they're not supporting it, so it makes
Okay.
me think that they're all supporting it. We did speak to everyone, and, they did look at this. This is pretty impactful. And they've...
But Senator Kaminsky still is choosing to support it?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
It's noteworthy.
And he just
Leadership.
attended a wake of a good family friend that passed away last week, and did have history of drug use. So suicide after drug use is not uncommon. So that really shocked me after what he went through last week with the funeral and the wake, that he would do this today. So we don't really know what he's thinking.
Thank you, Ms. McCormick. Melissa Jaffe?
Melissa Jaffe, Merrick. I just wanted everyone to know there's always a lot of negative talk regarding the shelter. Since we've started the Foster Day program, 9 dogs have gotten adopted. And the reason that they've gotten adopted is because as volunteers, we're able to give the staff a lot of information about the dogs because they're out about in a regular setting. And the staff then is allowed then to tell the adopters all the good information. The program did start small, and I know that people are criticizing that the favorites have gotten chosen or the favorite dogs get to go out, but that's not the case, okay? You have to start small before you jump in and have a large amount of people going. The program is now going to be expanded. After April, we had to make sure that there was no problems, that the dogs are being handled properly. So now that we've had no problems, come the middle of April, it is being expanded to more volunteers and more dogs will be taken out. So please stop listening to all of the fake news, okay? I am a Trump supporter, and we are doing a lot of good things there at the shelter. So I hope that you guys will start seeing the other side.
Thank you, Ms. Jaffe, and thank you for all the good work you do for our animals. Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. I want to talk about the Behavior Department. You had mentioned something about criticizing the board about an applicant or an application being different than the hiring title. And that's exactly where this began in 2016, where the town advertised for an animal behaviorist, and an animal behavior consultant was hired, shouldn't even have gotten to the interview process, was chosen as the highest bidder where the lowest bidder had the highest qualifications, which brings us to many of the problems that are at the animal shelter today, including this dog who is an owner's dog, adopted a dog from Hempstead. This is how her dog ended up looking. The dog was wrongly evaluated at the Hempstead shelter. Probably more litigation, 10 tubes, skim grafts, drains, stitches. I'd like to pass this so everyone can take a look at that. More returns, more injuries, more lawsuits. This is the committee that Santino hired, all political. You need to clean all of this up. It's long overdue. Enough people have gotten hurt, enough animals have been injured, enough lawsuits have been filed. I'd like to know, Mr. Ra, the spay-neuter certificates, you said you'd do a little investigation on that because they've been releasing dogs at the animal shelter. And again, I'll remind you, this is all mismanagement under Mr. Pastore. Did you look into that?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm incorrect, I believe there were 215 animals that were released to their owners.
That's not what I asked. There have been certificates accepted by the supervisory staff that are not legitimate, and animals that should not be exempt are being exempt.
There are, what I recall is this, that there were two out of the 215 that were problematic that we're looking at. And that I just don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I believe as we looked at it, there were only 2 of them.
There were only, though, just coincidentally, the 2 that I brought to town board, they were just, you said you would ask for all of those certificates to review them.
Yeah, I'm telling, we did do that, and what my memory tells me is that there were only 2. If you call me tomorrow, I'll give you, specifics.
Okay, and then I just wanted to say a word. I am delighted that there is a new CSEA union president. I do know Teresa Cahuta. She's first of all, she's got a heart of gold. She loves animals. She comes out swinging. She is a fair person. And from what I'm told, she's already started addressing some issues that we've brought to your attention for years now with the interference of certain volunteers into union jobs. That interference goes a lot more than into jobs of union employees, but it's being addressed, and I'm glad to see that emails were distributed today to start reeling that program in. I'd like to ask about the assistant director's position. That RFP went out. I'm told that a very highly qualified applicant has applied. Why hasn't, whose responsibility is to bring up that resolution?
What's the status of the assistant director? They've been done, the interviews are done. It's just going to come up probably at the next board meeting. Thank you for your comments. Marcia Berrios?
Marcia Berrios, 9 Forge Lane, Levittown. Good evening. I want to talk, first thank you, because last time I was here, I talked about the substrate in the play yards, that we had mud, and within a week, we had chips down, but there is a but. I hope this is only a temporary fix, because we've been using these chips for years, and what happens is they come in. I'm going to show you, yes, I do have a prop again. This is an example of what's in the chips. If we were to go on a plane with these things, we would end up getting patted down in the back room and probably be detained for hours. They're quite dangerous. The dogs have very tender paws, particularly our dogs, because they don't get to walk on concrete a lot, so their pads are soft, and they're susceptible to splinters, and their pads are pretty sensitive. So I'm hoping, thank you. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a temporary fix. The other thing is, they are free, so that is good. They are free, and they're keeping our boots clean, and the floors a little bit clean, so that is a good thing. But they do deteriorate, so they're probably going to be mud again within another 6 months or so in time for the kiddie pools to come out. So I'm just hoping that we could still get that, yes, I am going to say it, I hope we could get that artificial turf in there, and that will be a permanent solution. And I also want to thank you with the bottom of my heart for the Play for Life group, which is going to start soon. And that's going to be a wonderful thing for the shelter. And it will be good if they could play on artificial turf. So, wow, I did that before my 3 minutes. Again, thanks a lot for all you guys do for us.
Thank you, Ms. Berrios, and we will look into that. Rosemary Furtado?
Hi, I live in West Hempstead. My name is Rosemary Furtado. This is my first time at a town board meeting, and I'm just as the county supervisor has opted out of legalization of marijuana, I'm hoping that the town of Hempstead will opt out of 5G. I don't know if it's ever come up at these meetings. I understand that the topic has never come up. But when we talk about 5G, we're also talking about small cells. Currently, we're operating under 4G. 4G has been horrific for my health. And so I dread to think of what's going to happen when 5G comes out. I've been told that the town of Hempstead has a nationwide reputation for standing up for its constituents against the telecommunications industry, regarding the proliferation of cell phone towers. So much so that people from all over the country have consulted with the town of Hempstead to figure out how they can fight this as well. So I've been told that this is a non-issue for the town of Hempstead, that this never even come up at these meetings. So leading me to infer that, town of Hempstead will have our backs regarding this. But I know how people are enamored of their gadgets, their cell phones, their iPads, their whatever. These things are enormously dangerous. And we're being lied to by the telecommunications industry. These things are horrific, and with 5G, there's going to be, what I'm going through now, many more people are going to be going through once 5G comes out. So I'm here wanting to shed some light on this and hoping that the town will stand up to the telecommunications industry and stop the deployment of 5G, which is monumentally more frequencies than 4G. In 4 months, I think in June, SpaceX is going to be launching 4,000 satellites up in space, beaming down 5G radiation onto the Earth. There's going to be nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. This is terrifying to me. I think I will die, but this is horrific. And West Palm Beach has opted out. The Hamptons, Bel Air, Pacific Palisades. So if they can opt out, why can't we? So that's, I have lots more information I can give. Maybe I'll bring them in subsequent meetings, but I just wanted to bring this issue to light.
Thank you so much for sharing your concerns with us. And if you have information that you'd like the board to consider, I'd encourage you to submit it. You can submit it to my office. I can share it with everybody on the board so we can look into this issue a little bit further.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Susan Goldstone? She's gone. Arlene Walker, you spoke already, right? Okay. Stuart Kroll?
Stu Kroll, Great Neck. By the way, Felix, I was the one that wasn't able to speak the last time. I had a fight to get I was the one you were referring to. Anyway, I had asked to find a place for Pets for Love, and I'm glad that you're going to help somebody else relocate, but that didn't seem to work so well. I'm getting more cooperation from the county, than I am from over here. And some of what I've said, what I want to say was already said by other people, so I'll keep this fairly brief. I'm not even going to mention that the majority of Fonte's claimed qualifications were false. I would imagine this would be grounds for immediate dismissal. What would happen to a teacher who claimed to have a master's degree that in fact didn't have it? They'd be summarily fired. So apparently in the town of Hempstead, if you're politically connected, anything goes. As far as the dog that bit the homeowner and severely hurt the other dog, what I want to know is what's going to happen to the dog now? Mr. Rahm, maybe you have an answer for that. Who's going to make the decision on what's going to happen to that dog? Is that going to be Fonte and Pastore deciding? Because that's like giving Al Capone the key to the jail. I mean, who's going to make the decision?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm the town attorney, so I don't know what's going to happen to the dog.
Okay, I just want to know who's going to make the decision. You may not care, but...
No, I don't know. I don't know your answer. I don't know if the commissioner is here or the deputy commissioner is here, but I don't know. Okay. I don't take care of the dogs, fortunately or unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine. I'm a little bit upset about the way I think constituents have been treated and nobody gets back to them. Elected representatives and their staff are entrusted with the sacred task of representing the best interests of the electorate. They're not an elite class that deigns to talk to the public whenever they choose to. Comments such as "I am under no obligation," and that's Mr. LaCaruba, to answer that question are arrogant and unacceptable. Well, you are wrong. You are required to answer to your employers. The people are paying your salary, and you report to them, not some hack political bosses. Why is it that public officials here in Hempstead don't like returning phone calls? I don't have that problem dealing with the county or the town of North Hempstead. The same individual who didn't feel compelled to answer ignored 4 of my phone calls. Not returning constituents' calls is both rude and disrespectful. It conveys a false sense of their perceived importance. Perhaps I should be more understanding, as it is time-consuming to try to defend your boss taking credit for a tax cut that she voted against. Thank you.
Richard Shuren.
Good evening. Richard Shuren, 167 Jefferson Avenue, Harbor Isle, New York. Supervisor Gill and I would like to congratulate you on your win. I read the decision. I thought it was an excellent decision.
Thank you, Mr. Shuren.
It was right on point. The judge saw through the nonsense once again. And as Felix mentioned, it's another in a long series of defeats by the town board. The court clearly sees through the shenanigans, and when you get to a fair hearing, it's so transparent that the result is obvious. I would urge you not to waste my money appealing a judgment that was clear to me was appropriate and is well reasoned. It would be a total waste of money. Also, the judgment is in favor of the taxpayers, and it reverses a decision that was clearly wrong and clearly taken for improper purpose. A question that I have now is, what's the status of the building department audit?
The bids had expired, so it had to go out to RFP again. It's going out to RFP this week, so we will bring people in as soon as the responses are in, and it will be on the agenda again once the interviews are conducted by the panel.
Thank you. Mr. Blakeman, what's the status, what's the town's position on the Woodmere Club development? What plans do you have?
Councilman D'Esposito and I have been working very hard on this issue. It's a little complicated because it involves 2 villages as well as the town of Hempstead. In a nutshell, the zoning for the town of Hempstead portion, which is roughly 1/2 of the Woodmere Club, is approximately 52 acres in the town. That was zoned many, many years ago.
I'm familiar with the particulars. I mean, you could.
Well, what's the question you have?
Question is,
just ask me about what's going on with the Woodmere Club.
I know, but I'm asking.
Do you have a better question?
What does the town plan to do? That's my question. I'm familiar with the particulars of the zoning and the loss and
Maybe not everybody else is here, so
okay.
I thought I would let them know. So in any event, it's zoned 60 by 100, which is would allow approximately, just on the town side alone, an additional 244 houses, which would be devastating to the Woodmere community. So we now have 2 solid options that we're looking at. One is to renew our efforts to rezone the property, to upzone it, to be more consistent with the surrounding communities such as Lawrence and Woodsburg, which are adjacent to that piece of property. They literally sandwich the town of Hempstead property. On one side,
is that a legally defensible strategy? You're going to change the zoning at this point? Do you think have you gotten an opinion that that's legally possible?
yes, of course.
Okay.
So that's one option. The other option is whether or not it's economically feasible for the residents to form their own park district and create a park. That is something that we are waiting for numbers for to determine how much that would cost the individual homeowners, so they have the knowledge before we go out to the public with any plan. They should know what it would cost. So those are the 2 options that currently are under consideration.
On the second
Anthony,
option,
do you have anything you want to add to that?
on the second option, you're referring to the cost to the residents of those communities. Have you looked at what the cost would be to the rest of the town of Hempstead taxpayers? I mean, you'd be taking that property off the tax roll, I presume. Is that right?
It is off the tax roll.
Right now it is, but if it was rezoned as a park.
Where do you live?
I live in Island Park.
Okay, so
I pay taxes.
it wouldn't affect you.
I would. Can you stop the clock? If you're going to zone it as a park, And I'm not
So
going,
it wouldn't affect you if they form a park district. I told you we're not going to make it a park.
And a park district would not spread into Island Park.
once again, I pay taxes to the town of Hempstead.
But you wouldn't, it would be part of a special park district in a radius, which Island Park wouldn't be in.
I have a comment concerning Fred Parola, the town of Hempstead IDA, and a question really for you, Joe Ra. What is Fred Parola hired by the town board?
No.
Do you think it's appropriate for Fred Parola to call residents and inform them that the superintendent of schools is knowingly misleading them, or doesn't know or doesn't want to know the situation with regard to a matter before the town of Hempstead IDA? Do you think that's appropriate for Mr. Parola?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Is that a legal question?
No, I'm just asking you as a.
I don't give my opinions here. My opinions don't matter.
Well, I'll let you know that, a very contentious matter was before the town of Hempstead IDA. There was a revote on a development in my town, as you know, Councilman D'Esposito. And Fred Parola took it upon himself to call residents in the community who were opposing the revote and to inform them that the school superintendent, who was also opposed to it, was misinformed, didn't want to know.
Mr. Shuren, I'm sorry, your time is up.
He spread various misinformation to members of the community. I think it's a disgrace that the town of Hempstead IDA acts in such a way. And I think you're responsible. You appoint these town of Hempstead IDA members.
Mr. Shuren, I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Mr. Sherman, I will say I don't know exactly what happened in this situation, but Fred Parola is an honest and decent person, and I'm really tired of you attacking his character.
He absolutely is not. And if you,
He
if you don't know
absolutely
you don't know the facts of this case.
No, I don't know the
rendering an
facts of that
opinion.
specific case, but for you to disparage his character like you've done is disgusting. He's an honest public servant. You should be thankful he works with us.
That's totally not true. He's not honest. He
Okay.
misstates the record
Let's not have
repeatedly.
an argument about Mr. Parola's character
I've known
right
him
now.
for over 40 years, and there's nobody with more integrity that I know than Fred Parola. So you're way out of line, and your time is up. I don't want to hear another word about Fred Parola.
the court
You're
seems to
finished.
agree
You're over.
with
Your
us.
time is
Rachel
up.
Martino?
You're dismissed.
Hi, Rachel Martino, Kings Park. So good evening, Supervisor and Town Board members. I've been volunteering for 3 years now at your animal shelter. Tonight I'd like to try to put a positive vibe on things, being sometimes all we hear is complaints and false stories. First off, I would like to commend Supervisor and the board on their interest in bettering the shelter and hearing the concerns expressed by the staff and the volunteers. Little tidbit of information I found out recently. 3 years ago, when I started volunteering, there were only 50 volunteers, and tonight, I'm really happy to say that we have 134 volunteers. Supervisor Melissa Fogarty has done an outstanding job absorbing the volunteer coordinator position, and it shows. In just 2 years, the amount of volunteer numbers has almost tripled, and there are many new volunteers that have signed up and are scheduled for orientations. The Purple People are growing, and it's really helping all of the animals at the shelter in so many ways. 2 meetings ago, I shared the story about my buddy dog and longtime shelter resident JJ. I'd like to explain publicly how a group of like-minded people, some that get paid and some that don't, pull together and try to get your animals out of the shelter. This story is just one of hundreds at the shelter. JJ's volunteer team works very hard at enforcing and practicing the protocol that shelter trainer Christy Fanti implemented, and it has truly helped JJ tremendously. JJ's team also works very hard at promoting him on social media. I sponsor JJ. I have a Facebook page devoted just to him, and now we have over 1,000 people watching out for him. With that being said, yesterday was JJ's 500th day in the shelter. I made a post about it on his page. In just one day, as of this evening, the post has reached 326,428 people. It has over 1,000 comments and has been shared over 8,300 times, engaging 73,000 people for free. There's many people in the post that request to adopt him, but the shelter has strict rules, which I believe are fantastic, so that way everybody, including the animals and their families, will be safe and happy, limiting the amount of dogs that get returned. I reached out to several of the people that expressed interest. Most times we don't even get to a meet and greet because it's just not the right placement. However, one of them stood out tremendously. I contacted the gentleman and found out how serious he was, and his potential for being a good match was very high. So I reached out to the adoptions department, who immediately got on the case. Today, the application for JJ to be adopted is being processed. Because I sponsor and volunteer with JJ, I'm able to send the potential adopter more videos while I was with JJ today, so he could see how JJ is and further the interest. And guess what? This potential adopter lives all the way in Maryland. He already has planned out that he wants to come Friday to meet him. So we have all of our toes and paws crossed for him. The bottom line is we really do I really want to finish. Can I just say that the staff is doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate everything that you guys do and that you guys listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all the good work that you do.
Can we have the volunteers from the shelter stand up? I want to thank you for the incredible job you've been doing. It's like a beehive over there. I go there.
Thank you. You make our shelter a better
Incredible.
place.
Thank
You're
you.
great advocates for our animals. Thank you so much to our people in purple. Lucille Defina.
Good evening, Lucille Defina, and I just want to say I'm glad to hear about more volunteers being at the shelter, and that's always a good thing, and I'm happy to hear about all the progress. I also want to remind the volunteers to keep things in proper perspective and don't feel you have to keep begging. This is an almost $5 million shelter, and I think you, Supervisor Gillen, and this town board could get them some turf. You could absolutely do that. You could do that in a second. So I don't think that's a big cry for help or demand, or that's an easy fix. That's a lot easier than things that Diane and I used to come up and demand. All they want is turf. So why don't you think about it? That would make a big difference. And the other thing I want to say is about the play group. I don't know too much about the dogs and how things work, but I heard one of the volunteers say that this is a new play group that they're trying to put together, and it's going to take a while and baby steps and things like that. I don't know, again, I don't know much about it, but I do know on Fonte's resume, she says that she implemented a program at Save a Tail Rescue. It was the Amy Sadler's Dog Play for Life program. So she had done that, and she had implemented that previously. She's been at the shelter for over 2 years. I'm just trying to understand why they are just putting it together themselves and with their few resources, when you have someone there who's been getting a salary and has all the resources and anything she needs and says she actually has done this. So why did it take 2 years, and why did that not go into effect immediately? Does anybody know?
It's a program that we're bringing into the shelter. It was put up on the agenda, and it was tabled, and then it was put up again, and then it passed. So we're glad that this program's coming in.
No, I'm glad too. I just do not understand if you have someone there that you hired and you're paying $109,000 a year who says that she has implemented it in her resume. It's...
Be happy to explain the Dogs for Playing for Life program to you after the meeting.
Okay, so these volunteers should get everything that they need to get this up and running. And was there a grant that was needed to do this?
We got a grant to cover the costs.
Okay, and what was the grant for? For training?
Grant is to bring this program to the shelter.
But why do you need money to bring the program? Is it because they need training? You have somebody who had the training and just needed to train them, so.
It's a specific program that takes dogs with behavioral challenges and tries to improve their socialization skills. It's a certain methodology, and
So the behavior is.
step in if I'm not describing it correctly, but it's a certain methodology, so they're going to come in and try to employ these techniques with our dogs so they can learn socialization skills.
And our behaviorists couldn't do that. We needed additional money.
She sees so many animals in the shelter. This is a whole new program that we're bringing into the shelter. I'm sure she'll be involved in some of the training with the other people, but it's to help other staff in the shelter learn how to do this.
Okay.
Thank
The
you.
most important thing is it's happening, and I hope it continues, and I hope everything gets stronger, and I hope the volunteers understand it's a $5 million shelter and almost $4 million in salaries and contracts. So, they shouldn't be doing all the work, and they shouldn't be using their money. And I just want to say for the record, Joe Ra, that even though you say you know nothing about the dogs, I want to just remind you about Larry and Brock, and we can go back to the videotape, and it was very much the legal department who had a lot to do and a lot to say why that dog was unsafe and could not continue to go to rescue. Everyone said it came out of the legal department. So I hope this other dog, I hope his paperwork
Fina, I'm
and his
sorry, your
records
time
never
is up,
cross
Ms.
your
Fina.
path.
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Phyllis Federici.
Good evening. Phyllis Federici, Town of Hempstead resident, volunteer Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. I usually come to these meetings in a pretty good mood, mostly calm, but then while listening to all the disrespect and terrible things people say about each other and about the board members, I usually get riled up before the meeting is over. Tonight is different. I come here filled with rage, and in plain English, I am pissed off. I read a post from the new CSEA boss, Teresa Kahuntka, written on March 9th. In it, she wrote, and I quote, "Volunteers do not run the shelter and should be nothing but subservient." The volunteers have been publicly called so many derogatory things by people, such as bullies, hateful, intimidating, manipulative, mob mentality, negligent, wreak havoc, unsupervised, secret keepers, enablers, and my personal favorite, Pahunta, selfie takers. I have been hearing this crap for the past year since I am on social media. I can tell you that most of it is very disheartening. I have worked for 44 years, and the last 32 years of that in a male-dominated industry, and I was never called any of these things. Now I am a volunteer at an animal shelter, and I'm called all sorts of names. But this last remark is just wrong. This woman is now the president of a very large union. She should be counseled, to say the least. She should be counseled by her superiors and told what she can and cannot say publicly. She represents a lot of people. Calling a group of people from all walks of life nothing but subservient is politically incorrect and totally unacceptable and should not be tolerated by anyone. I spend 15 to 18 hours a week at the shelter. I donate my time, toys, and treats, as do many of the other volunteers. I treat every staff member with respect, and they treat me the same way as they do many of the other volunteers. I am personally offended by this remark, and so are many of the other volunteers. We were told that Ms. Kahunta was at the shelter today, and I'm glad she was. I hope she gets to the bottom of this, and I do not think her first course of action should have been to insult 130 volunteers on pure hearsay. I ask each and every one of you board members to think of your mother, father, sister, brother, children, aunt, uncles, and cousins. How would you feel if they were referred to as nothing but subservient? I think you would be just as pissed off as we are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your comments, and thank you for all the good work that you do at our shelter. Good night, everyone. Have a lovely evening.